I didn't plan on bringing a dog home that day. I had gone to the weekly market just outside our village to buy spare parts for the irrigation pump. It was one of those slow mornings, with dust hanging in the air and people talking more than buying. Near the edge of the market, beside a stack of old crates, I noticed a small puppy sitting alone. It wasn't begging or following anyone. It just sat there, watching people pass by, as if it was waiting for someone who wasn't coming back. I stood there longer than I needed to. The puppy was thin, its ribs faintly visible, and its fur was dirty but soft underneath. When I crouched down, it didn't run away. It came closer, cautiously, and sniffed my hand. There was no fear in its eyes, just tiredness. I asked around, but no one claimed it. One man said it had been there since morning. I don't know what made me decide, but I picked it up and carried it home. It felt like the simplest decision at the time. At home, my mother wasn't surprised. She had always been kinder than me when it came to animals. She brought out a small bowl of milk and some leftover bread. The puppy ate slowly at first, then with more urgency. My mother smiled in that quiet way she has and said, "It chose you." I shrugged it off, but I knew she was partly right. We didn't give it a proper name immediately. For a few days, we just called it Chatu. Chatu settled into the house quickly. It followed my mother more than me. Wherever she went, kitchen, courtyard, even the small garden, it stayed close. It slept near the doorway of her room and would wake up whenever she moved. At first, I thought it was just attachment, but it was more than that. It watched her closely, as if paying attention to her habits. My mother said it reminded her of the dogs she had seen in her childhood, loyal without needing to be trained. A few weeks passed, and Chatu grew stronger. Its coat became cleaner, and it gained some weight. It started exploring more, but it always came back quickly if my mother called. One evening I noticed it barking at the back of the house, where the old storage shed stood. There was nothing unusual there, so I ignored it, but it kept returning to that spot, sniffing and circling, as if something had caught its attention. The shed had been unused for years. Its wooden door was partly broken, and the ground around it was uneven. I told myself I would fix it one day, but I kept putting it off. Chatu's behavior around it became more persistent. It would sit there and stare, then come back to the house, then go again. My mother noticed too, and asked if something was wrong. I said it was probably just chasing rats or insects. One afternoon I had to go to a neighboring farm to help with a repair. My mother stayed home as usual. Chatu was with her when I left. It was a normal day, nothing unusual. The sky was clear, and there was no sign of trouble. I remember thinking I would be back before sunset. I didn't think twice about leaving them alone. I was halfway through my work when I saw Chatu running toward me. It was unusual because it never left the house without my mother. It was panting heavily, its tongue out, and it came straight to me, barking in short bursts. At first, I thought something small had happened, like it had gotten lost. But then it grabbed the edge of my trousers with its teeth and pulled, not aggressively, but firmly. I tried to calm it down, but it kept pulling and barking, then running a few steps away and coming back. It was clear it wanted me to follow. I felt a sudden uneasiness. I told the others I had to leave and started walking quickly back home. Chatu ran ahead, stopping every few meters to check if I was still following. Its urgency made me move faster than I normally would. When I reached the house, the main door was open, but my mother was not inside. Chatu didn't stop there. It ran straight past the courtyard toward the back, to the old shed. My heart started pounding. I called out for my mother, but there was no response. Chatu barked loudly now, circling the shed and scratching at the ground near its side. As I got closer, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. The ground near the shed had partially collapsed, forming a shallow pit. It wasn't very wide, but it was deep enough to be dangerous. I looked down and saw my mother lying at the bottom. She must have stepped on the loose ground, causing it to give way. She was conscious but unable to get up. One of her legs was twisted awkwardly. I climbed down carefully. The soil was loose, and I had to be cautious not to make it worse. My mother was in pain, but relieved to see me. She said she had been calling out, but no one was close enough to hear. She had been there for some time. I checked her leg. It was likely fractured. She couldn't stand on it. I knew I couldn't lift her out alone without risking further injury. I asked my mother to stay still and climbed back up. Chatu stayed near her the whole time, not leaving her side. I ran to get help from neighbors. Within minutes, 2 men came with me, bringing ropes and a wooden ladder. We worked carefully, lowering the ladder into the pit. One of us climbed down, and together we secured my mother so we could lift her safely. It took time, but we managed to bring her up without worsening her injury. She was in pain, but she remained calm. We arranged for transport to the nearest clinic. The doctor later confirmed that her leg was fractured but treatable. He said if she had been left there much longer, things could have been worse, especially with the loose soil and risk of further collapse. That evening, after everything had settled, I sat outside the house with Chotu lying beside me. It was quiet again, like any other day. But I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. If Chotu hadn't come to get me, I wouldn't have known where to look. I might have searched the wrong places or wasted time. It didn't just bring me home. It led me exactly where I needed to go. From the moment I found it at the market to that day, it had somehow become part of our lives in a way I hadn't expected. I don't think it was just chance. Sometimes something small changes everything, and you only understand it after it happens.